call to order this meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees for Tuesday, November 10th. If everybody will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before us, we have our agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections by fellow board members? I've got just one thing under the sheriff's report I want to add. It's going to be 1A, the monthly report will be 1B, and that's thank you.
And Mr. President, I have an administration number 5, which is the COVID Cares business grants, and an administrator number 6, which is the purchase of a 2021 Explorer Interceptor.
Do we have any other additions, deletions, or corrections by board members or department heads? Okay, the agenda will stand as amended. First item is going to be the sheriff's report. So as Lieutenant Carver comes up, what I want to preface on behalf of the board, on behalf of the Plain Township community, is a thank you for the overwhelming support of the replacement levy. 62%. Our community clearly continues to stand behind and see the value in this great working relationship, and to the fact, I mean, feet on the street, you're the face to the community. So I just want to, express my gratitude for the work that you guys do day in, day out. It allows us to continue to get this strong support, and likewise for the public that overwhelmingly passes. So,
Hey Brian, let me say something. I can say it right back at you guys, because you know what, this township has always stood behind us, supported us. So you know what, congratulations to you. Appreciate what you did. Thank you. Appreciate it, and we look forward to everything down the road. But thanks again. You guys have always been there for us.
thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. You know, though, in reality, we don't determine the level of service. The taxpayers determine the level of service. And once they've recognized service, and then you say, hey, to maintain this service, we got it has to increase a little bit. And 62% of the people say, I like what you're doing. You know, nobody likes to get a ticket. However, they do have to appreciate the fact that you guys are always there. So I think that goes right back to the quality of the people you have on the street, because all we can do is facilitate it. It's the people on the street that make the difference.
Yes.
So if you could just share that with all of them as well.
We'll do that. Very good point. Very good point taken. Very good point.
I will say, I know I just had done another ride-along 2 Fridays ago, just before the election. Part of it very intentional by design. And I mean, for the size of Plain Township, we logged a little over 85 miles that day. It was go, go, go. Ending the day, I mean, you go from wellness checks, to vacation checks, illegal dumping, to you end up with mental health issues where you're having to call in other entities. I mean, it really is a diverse mix. So, I mean, we do it effectively, we do it efficiently, and we do it with top-notch level of professionalism and service. So.
Good evening. On the October 2020 monthly report for you. Calls for service, we had 1,349 calls, down 8.5% from last year. And with 44 crashes, 14 injury crashes. That was a 27% increase from last year. 84 alarms, 154 traffic stops, 75 citations, and 47 arrests. 100 vacation checks, and the detective's report, 9 cases assigned. We closed 1 suicide and 1 theft.
How's the circumstances around Frazier one progressing? It's still.
I'm going to touch on that in just a moment. I'll go through your charts, and I'm going to circle back to that briefly. Looking at your comparison, October 2019 and 2020, side by side with your chart there. And then also going back to 2015, comparing the numbers. Again, seeing that big increase as the staff went up. And
We think we attribute the slight decline in call volume really more so due to the impact of COVID.
yeah, absolutely.
Overall.
Yeah, we've steadily seen that this year. The call volume down a little bit. We've had over the summer, some of those months were still up higher. But I think we're kind of still in that phase where things are a little bit slower with COVID, a little bit different nature of some of the things we're handling. To be remiss if I didn't go back to that detective report. As you all know, we had a very unfortunate homicide of a young mother on Trader Avenue right at the end of October. Fortunately, it was about a week later we were able to make an arrest in that case. I'd just like to take a moment to recognize Detective Ross, all of our detective bureau, and everybody, even the guys on patrol that were out there assisting helping canvass the neighborhood. Endless hours went into trying to close this case up and handle that case, and everybody did a fantastic job getting everything handled with that. I would also point out, just for the sake of the public to be aware, this was not a random act of violence. This was not a random issue for the community to be overly concerned about. It was specific to this victim and this suspect. But I just wanted to point out the hard work that everybody in the office did in making this a priority to make sure it was brought to a successful point.
Thank you. We appreciate all the work you and Detective Ross and all the patrol did on it.
I think Chief Oliver wanted to speak again briefly.
Yeah, I mean, this was a tragic incident. It was all hands on deck. We handled it, thank God. We handled it in a timely manner. We were able to bring it to conclusion. As Lieutenant Carver said, the best thing about it, this was, I guess you could relate it personal. And so it's not something the community, thank God, needs to worry about, to be threatened about. So it was contained all at that address and no further. So.
Good job.
Well done.
The last item under here is yard waste issues.
Yeah, I added the yard waste issues for the residents in attendance, so they don't have to wait till the end of the meeting under concerns of citizens, and while we have everybody here, so for those folks who are here with yard waste, to address it at this point with the board. So if anybody
If
is
there's anybody
in
in
the
the audience who
audience.
wishes to address the Board of Trustees, we ask that you state your name and address for the record, then we'll recognize. Is there anybody that wishes to speak?
What was that?
Yeah, do you want me to,
You can be picked up right from there probably, if you want to come forward.
it's okay. My name is Linda Cook, and I live at 4124 Carlisle Avenue Northeast, in Canton 44714. And thank you for letting me speak here today. First of all, I want to say that I'm a lifetime resident of Plain Township, and I have been working, I'm a microbiologist at Mercy for 28 and a half years now, and am basically a rule follower. It comes with the territory. But I have to say, I wanted to let you guys know that I feel like I messed up and someone else is paying the price for that. I had gotten one of the yard waste cards, and I just, with my circumstances, I have multiple joint issues, and I do have a husband and a son that lives with me, but they have been out of town working in Erie, Pennsylvania. My husband owns a business, and anyway, and I don't have a truck or anyway, long story short, I had this young man who is a friend of my son's come, and he did as a favor to me, bring his trailer and get my yard waste. And he dumped it over at the, I gave him my card to do this. And I didn't go with him because my son was getting his daughter and it was Halloween weekend and we had things planned. And so anyway, it's just kind of this whole series of events that took place, and it all happened very quickly after he did dump my yard waste there, that he started getting phone calls repeatedly, wanting, a sheriff, I'm assuming it was, that wanted to meet up with him, and he was working, and in the weather, he's working long days, doing this kind of yard disposal work. Anyway, I don't think he was aware at all of the circumstances, that I believe he felt that it was okay for him to use my card for my waste. And I mean, I guess I kind of have, my next door neighbor, is a city employee, is Joe Carafelli with the fire department, and he was there. He actually helped Kirby, go through his driveway and pick up my yard waste. Anyway, Kirby, they kept calling him till he finally, he met with them. He still wasn't home from work, and they met with him somewhere. I think he said Rite Aid. And I asked Kirby to be here, but he's working, and he has custody of his son and had to get his son, and so he's not here. But anyway, Kirby was given a citation and with a $500 fine, and I'm just here to say that I don't think this was his mess. It was my mistake, and I didn't do my due diligence, I guess, and figure out what was and wasn't legal. I thought, I just thought we were okay with what we were doing, and it turned into, this big thing, and kind of a traumatic way that it happened, too. With all of the phone calls, at first they wouldn't tell him why they wanted to meet with him, and he was worried that something had happened to his family, a family member. But anyway, it all got worked out, but he has a citation, and I just want to say that I think the mistake is mine, not his, and, he's a young man trying to build a business, and he doesn't, he doesn't need a citation on his record. So I don't know what I can do, if there's any recourse about any of this. Nobody even talked to me as the card holder before they issued this citation so quickly to him.
Well, it would have been because we've got surveillance down at the yard waste, so whether you're coming in or whether you're exiting, we're capturing. So we're gonna go off the license plate from that, here, keep me between the guardrails here. And ultimately, what happens is, we've had in the past issues where folks either try sneaking in behind another card user. We have folks that have tried to put magnets over certain markings on trucks because we don't accept commercial waste from commercial landscapers. And in this instance, somebody at the yard waste had contacted Township Hall and said, hey, we saw two people in uniform shirts. So that led our yard waste site manager to then check the surveillance footage, which then would trigger the process of that information's passed along, license number and so forth. The sheriff's staff then will go out and attempt to make
But I don't think
contact.
that he was aware of the change in the policy.
Yeah,
And I gave him my card and said, here, I have this, you can go do this.
Yeah, it's one of the things, since we privatized it, we discussed this over a year and a half, not quite 2 years ago, when the Joint Solid Waste District funding was fake. We opted to forego it because it was actually costing us a significant chunk of money, whereas now we're getting, call it cost neutral.
Well, I
It's one of
have
those
no
things we want.
problem
So,
with the change,
In
or,
getting to the point, I know I've driven back by the residents, on your residents on Carlisle, just to see, not that I get to do that on everyone, but for the sake of following the process, I would tell you, Lieutenant Carver, do we have any idea who would have attempted to make the call, or any?
I believe it was Deputy Carter handled that case.
Okay. So it probably wouldn't be uncommon if there's no answer to try two or three times, maybe during a shift or after.
Right, it ended up being later that evening, toward the end of the shift, when he was finally able to make contact with them. And from what I understand, it was not a pleasant contact.
So let's see here. That means it. I mean, it brings it to the.
When you looked at, did it go like that with it?
I mean, and that's where I need to ask a qualifying question. I mean, the yard waste that you had, was it predominantly leaves, or was it from hedge trimmings? Because I think it's on the south side of your lot, there's a fence, I think a fence and
Yeah.
some
yes,
hedges,
and it was to the side of that, I had been just trying to clean up things and put it there, but, you know,
we're not talking
nobody
about
has,
large
like I said,
fallen
my
trees,
husband and my,
large branches, so.
there weren't large branches. In fact, there's still logs sitting there.
So from that aspect, I mean, I would tell you this, I mean, I could look and see that outside of the normal shedding of the leaves on those plantings, there's some maintenance that's been done on it as well. So from that aspect, it's not that, yard waste couldn't have been generated from there.
Did he make more than one trip that day to haul to the site?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Did he use the car twice that day, right?
Affirmative. Second time we denied, though, we'd already stripped the access card.
All right. We've been down this road with a couple others on our first path. In this instance, Ms. Cook has come in, explain the situation.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you for coming in, by the way. And you may have given one of the best presentations and arguments that we have ever heard over this, and I appreciate you being here. It's not uncommon. We do this all the time because we just follow our protocol. So how the process is done, once we recognize there is any potential for a violation, we're going to go ahead with the violation, and then it's going to be up to whoever has been cited is going to have to give the appeal. So I appreciate you coming in and doing that appeal. Right now her card has been shut off, right? Okay, we have to be protective of this site. So we're going to continue to follow this protocol. Did you tell me 25,000 card swipes over the last, does that sound right?
I thought it was 2,400 over the weekend.
It was 3,000 over the weekend, we're at 26,300.
Okay, so I was right. When you told me before, we were at a little over 25,000 card swipes since we've done that. So for us, we can appreciate how important this service is to our residents, because that's 26,000 trips that people have made to come in there. And we have to be cautious because the business of hauling all that debris away is limited. Nobody wants it. So we have to protect that process to private residents only. So in this particular case, somebody turned those landscapers in. We didn't seek that out. We had no clue. So how that process started was somebody called up and said, hey, just so you know, there was landscapers that brought in waste. So we followed up on that, and once we realized then that, yes, they were landscapers, and your card was the one they used to swipe with, now we're just gonna go back and we're gonna figure out what actually took place here. So,
But I don't think he was aware.
very much so, but we've had other
And I
cases
feel
like
like
that as
it's
well.
my mistake, not his. I don't want him to have to,
I think we've had a couple other issues that were similar to this, so, I think we're okay with that. I'm okay. If you're okay with it, when you went out to
I'm just
look at it.
gonna, I mean, the only thing I'm not happy about is just the attitude with
Yeah.
with the sheriff's office. Our guys that are on the street, and I'm not saying it because they're here, I've done enough ride-alongs, and I've met every one of these staff, and I see them on enough of a basis, whether they're out patrolling or it's public. They're not giving attitude, they're simply doing their job, so I do, and I don't care if it's anybody in this room or anybody out in the public. They deserve and demand respect, and I expect that to be given. So the only thing I really, from a beef is really the attitude, but that being said, I mean, I would be willing to waive it in this instance, but, I mean, again, that's a board decision. It would simply be for moving forward. Hey, probably if they didn't even have uniform shirts on that day, knowing the truck that rolled in, we wouldn't have known any different. Most of our issues have been on, either commercial that's tried to go in there, some dump trailers or something. And this, it was a resident, and as John's explained, I mean, the process, I know the $500 is a shocker, but illegal dumping in the township, it wasn't that we set that fine specifically for yard waste. It has to do with illegal dumping anywhere in the township, because I can tell you, that's probably why we don't have too many issues around here. You go out into some of the more rural areas, it really does become more of an issue. In some of these communities that are not offering yard waste, unfortunately, if somebody's like, well, I'm not driving to Lake Township because it's still under the Joint Solid Waste District, we've got folks, and I'm sure the sheriff can probably speak to it, the amount of, whether it's tire dumping, leaf dumping, that's what, it is intended to serve as a punitive aspect. In this situation, giving the details, I think it's something that, we'll chalk it up as, misunderstanding. Appreciate the opportunity.
thank you. I really, didn't want there to be a problem. We could have gone another way. It was a mistake, not a purposeful action to go against policy. It was a mistake.
I just question why he came back a second time. If you only had enough for one load.
I don't know, I wasn't there.
Then he must have already.
I don't know because I wasn't there when he picked up. I had quite a bit of yard waste.
I would tell you with the hedgerow that's along there, even if you had a 6x14 or like 7x14 or 8x16, traditional, it wouldn't be uncommon to.
I was at work and I wasn't there.
Lisa?
Yeah, I just, if you would do a verbal resolution to waive Linda Cook's yard waste ticket, I didn't have one prepared, and that's my fault, but if you could do a verbal, we'll get it into the record.
Yeah, but
That
I
way
don't-
you guys can
Yeah,
vote.
but she didn't actually get the fine.
That's what, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
it'd be
make
Kirby
it-
It
Manley.
was Kirby Manley.
Now, was he cited, was there a citation for his behavior? I mean,
No,
I mean, an attitude there.
I didn't know if there was anything else involved.
So I'll make the verbal motion, be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to waive the $500 fee on the issued citation to Kirby Maley as it relates to the disposal of yard waste produced and disposed of for
resident Linda Cook of 4124 Carlisle Northeast, Canton, Ohio.
And I'll second that, changing fee to fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Yes, Linda, will you make Kirby aware then? Because I don't have his time. Can you make him
Yes,
aware?
I
Thank
will.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Yep.
you all very much.
Thank you for coming.
Roll call?
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Harles?
Yes.
And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
You're welcome to.
You're welcome.
You don't have to.
It's interesting to hear what goes on. It actually is. Thank you all very much.
Thank
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Linda. Have a good night. Thank you.
Sir, if you just state your name and address for the record.
Can I come up?
Yeah,
Yes.
you can,
Whatever
whether
you
you want to
think
come
of
up or
the
you want to.
Okay, my name is Robert Austin, and I live at 1236 Glenview Avenue, northeast, right off of Diamond. This is a yard waste matter too. I tore your gate off the other day. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Very much so.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay, well, I was 40 years, was an electrician at Republic Steel. I have worked on many operating systems for doors, gates, elevators, whatever. And I have never, they always have a fail-safe for closer, just like your opener at home, your garage door opener. If there's something under the door, it won't come down. And if it's coming down, it'll go back up. Now, I've been there about maybe 6, 8 times. I don't really need to use the dump site until this time of year, when I have to take my leaves and stuff like that. So I got the card earlier in the year and, you know, whatever. But my issue is I think you have a failure in the way that thing is set up. And the reason I say that is because if I have, you know, the deputy came to my house, scared the bejesus out of me, 10 o'clock at Saturday night, when I'm watching a game and the sheriff shows up. I don't know if my daughter's been in an accident. I don't know what happened. I forgot all about that gate. I thought it just had a breakaway on it or something, so I had someplace to go. I left and never even gave it another thought. So the deputy shows up Saturday night and he tells me he wants to file a report so they can take it off of my insurance. And I'm like, wow. I'm watching a game, I'm, you know, drinking spirits. I'm scared that a cop shows up at my house at 10 o'clock at night, a deputy sheriff. I'm not complaining about that, because once he made it known to me what he was there for, I'm, oh yeah, the gate. I broke the gate. But I went back there Sunday, and there was a sheriff on duty there, and the gate was up. And this is the gate leaving, not coming in, where you swipe your card. And I asked him if it was okay if I went over and took pictures of the signage, you know, going to the gate. And the only sign you have there that says, approach the gate and the gate will raise. Well, I followed the guy out. I mean, we were a short distance apart, and if you watch the film that they have, that they showed me that night, you'll see that I was right behind him. It never even occurred to me the gate would come down as long as there was something under it, like it's supposed to be set up, fail-safe. But I got about to my hood and I seen it start coming down, so I went through fast so it wouldn't hit my truck. I didn't want to hit my truck, but my tailgate on my trailer hit the gate and broke it. I talked to Captain Haynes.
Yes, that's me.
Is that you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and he invited me here tonight to pitch my side of the story. And I called my insurance company the other day and I said, I think we have a dispute here on the operation of that gate. One, for the signage, it should explain that you have to wait each time to close. And the other, it doesn't have a fail-safe on it. So anything could happen. You could have a woman going through there that's, you know, just following somebody else and it comes down, hits her car, breaks her windshield, who knows, whatever. It's not that hard from all the systems that I worked at Republic to put a fail-safe on any opener. You can't sell an opener without a fail-safe on it. You have to have an external input to that, which you have there to open it. You know, and have it fail-safe. If you had that same sensor and it was set up right, anytime it saw anything under that gate, it would stay up. If it was coming down, it would go back up. And you'd never have that problem. And I'm really thinking that maybe this happened a couple of times already, but people got through it before it came down on them. Though, every time that I've been there, the gate has always been down. And like I told you, I only been there about 6, 7 times this year. It was always down, so when I approached it, it went up. This is the first time I followed somebody else. You said yourself, it's been very busy there this year. It was busy Saturday. And I just followed a guy out that was leaving too. It came up for him, and I just assumed it would stay up while I went through. I didn't see any sign that said otherwise, that it should be, you know, that you should wait each time for it to open and close, open and close. So I told Captain Haynes that I called my insurance company and I told them that I thought maybe we have a dispute on my insurance paying for this. And one of the reasons why is I have like $1,000 deductible on that part of my insurance. And I'm retired now, and I really don't want to pay that if I don't have to. And I think if you check the OSHA laws on openers, you'll find out that you're supposed to have a fail-safe on that gate.
Well, sir, I can tell you, as many of these systems have been, this isn't a Plain Township self-installed. This system's been used at a number of other yard locations, and we've replicated it, so I've got a hard time believing that we've done, I mean, this is no different than when you go out of a parking deck. You know, if you're at the parking deck booth and going out, you wait till that gate comes back down before you exit. So
Yeah,
whether
but
it's
you don't
yard
know
or-
that. You don't know that if you started to drive in there, it would stay up.
You do.
Because that's how
You
it's
do.
supposed to be set.
Especially with the trailer.
Reasonably, anybody, and I want to speak to this too. It wasn't that you were right behind the individual. The video shows you come flying around the corner, almost catching up with him, and we can produce the video.
That's fine.
If need be.
But I can
But
produce
the same aspect,
video too.
I'm gonna tell you where our issue sits is, okay, to your point of trying to get out, I can appreciate the fact you didn't want your truck hit, because I know I wouldn't want my truck hit. But knowing full well that the tailgate, I mean, you still stop to check. I mean, heck, if
Check with who, sir? There's nobody on duty in the
No,
lot.
you get outside your vehicle after it's safely put in park and check, okay, is there damage to my trailer? Is there damage to that arm? That's what a reasonable person in my mind.
Okay, well then
If
you're
you're not
telling
gonna
me
get a
that I'm
five-minute-
trying to get out of something that I'm
No,
dutifully bound to pay
let me
for. I don't think I am.
If I was to go out and back out into the parking lot and happen just to, oh God, I think I bumped Brooks' bumper, even if I didn't technically dent it or anything, I have a legal responsibility to come in and, hey Brooke, you need to come out and take a look at your vehicle. I backed up to it, you know, instead of using my mirrors, I was counting on the stupid sensors on the truck, they didn't work. Now if she comes out and says, hey, we're good, and so forth, but if she goes, Scott, I want to get a police report on this, then I should expect that. So there's some shared responsibility here from my perspective. I don't know, John.
Maybe there is. Maybe we can work it out, but I will tell my insurance company that I think there's an obligation for that thing to work properly.
Okay, well, you've been there 9 times, and in every video, you drove in a very slow pace, you waited your turn. This time you sped up to catch up to the truck in front of you. You did not stop when you left, you just continued to go.
I understand.
You just said yourself, you went there Sunday and there was a deputy there. There's always usually someone there.
Yes.
So why did you not go out? We looked at the video, there were people there that you could have said, oh, I'm sorry, you just kept going.
I didn't see anybody, and almost every time I've ever been there, there was nobody there, except maybe once in a while there's a front loader, and a guy running a front loader. But it doesn't negate the fact that the opener shouldn't close when there's something under it. that's gonna be an issue for OSHA.
So by your own admission, you knew you crashed into that
I
gate.
knew I had to get,
I need it.
And at no point in time did you stop to look to see if what was left was a safety issue for anybody else behind you? So when you made the statement that it appears like you're trying to blame me for something, all I got to go by is the video, and I see you know that you hit that and you skated out of there. And then my second problem I have with that, at no point in time did you ever make a phone call here to at least leave a message, hey, just so you know, I was at the yard waste, this happened. So when you're asking me, or us as a board, it appears like you're trying to say I ran away. I don't have any other evidence that would differentiate that.
okay.
I struggle with that. You made a very good argument.
Yeah.
You made a
I
very
have.
good argument as far as the gate operation.
Yes.
Here's my problem. I'm guessing if we didn't have that video, we wouldn't even be talking right now, because I'm saying you probably wouldn't have told anybody that was you that broke that gate.
Or to check to make
That's
sure
the
nobody
problem
got
that I have
hurt
right now.
behind with one going down.
Okay, well, I can see where we're gonna have an argument.
Well, it's not an argument, I'm just stating
This is a public
facts.
discussion.
I'm just
Yeah.
talking about responsibility to pay for it. That's all I'm talking about. If you wanna call me a skater or whatever you wanna do,
I'm
that's
not gonna
fine.
call you
That's fine.
anything.
You can do that. When there's nobody there in your lot a lot of times, I had somewhere to be, so I left. You can say that I sped up. I came up to get behind that guy, but I sped up when I saw the gate coming down.
You
Now,
sped up before the gate was ever down. And then, yeah, you're right, you did speed up. You
we're
didn't
all
just go through
leaving
it.
to
But you
get out
could
of
have
there.
stopped, you saw it going down, you weren't even there yet. So you could have
Oh, no.
easily stopped and
Oh,
waited.
no, I was at least at my front bumper when it started coming down. That I will testify to.
Lisa,
Please.
Yeah, I just want to say, it sounds like there's not going to be a resolution, so what we'll do, as long as we have all the insurance information, we'll submit it to Perso,
Okay,
who will take, and that's our insurance, who will take it out of the board's hands. They're the decision makers at this point, and they'll work with his insurance, and they
Yeah.
will,
I already
That's
talked
how-
to my insurance company and I
So-
told them I think we
yeah,
We
so
can
we'll submit
litigate
it.
this.
Yeah,
do
we'll
we have
submit
his
it to ours.
insurance information on file?
Yes, I gave it to the deputy that night.
Brian, can you get that to me? And then we'll submit it to Perso, because if not, that's all we can do. It's really not a decision the board can make.
It's gonna come down to.
If you
Why
don't
would
wanna
we
make it,
decision
you know,
to
I was
make it?
willing to work it out with the deputies.
But the- I
willing to work it out.
just want to say, the board can't work this situation out because there was damage. The only people that can work it out is both insurances. So the board doesn't have the ability, since there was damage to public property.
Are you having deputies stand guard on that gate now every day? That it's open?
No.
Because when I
No,
got
this
there
is-
Sundays, and I have pictures to show it, the gate, and the pole that looked like, I didn't know if it had a breakaway on it or not, but the pole looked like it was repaired.
Sir, that was in the stage of being repaired, so we actually staged, the sheriff's office put a deputy out there for us
For
because
So,
the exit.
I'm not gonna pay for continued deputies watching the door to make
I don't
sure.
know, we're going to.
No, we've got it in service again now. We've got the gate working again
Yeah, I
now.
don't want to make any promises. This is a decision the board cannot make because it involves damage to township property. That's why we pay for township insurance, which is Perso. Ryan will get me your insurance information, and that's the entities who will deal with this. So really, it's out of everybody's hands except for insurance.
Okay, if you're gonna submit it to my insurance company, then,
Well, we're going to submit it to our insurance, and they're going to contact your insurance, and they can,
And they'll
Do
determine
what
whether or not
they
they're
do.
separate
Yeah.
or
yeah,
just.
yeah.
for-
Yeah, so really, there's,
the whole thing could have been avoided, I think, if it was properly serviced.
what
was
we
my
had gone
beef.
through.
Don't you think your garage door at home works like that door? Does your garage door at home come down when you're something in
Comparing
front of
apples,
it?
you are
Yeah,
comparing apples
that's-
and oranges, that is, I'm not even gonna entertain that conversation. They're different,
Yeah.
they're different applications, and as I've referenced, this same application is used across a number of different locations, and again,
They're safety issues.
That's the one.
I just wonder if that's important to you.
Well, absolutely it is. But we're not gonna get into that argument, because there's a reason why garage door openers have that eye on it. And it's not a vehicle crash, it's somebody getting trapped underneath. That's different than this gate.
Yeah, and again, we'll submit it to insurance because this conversation could go on and on. I do want to say we've had 26,000 people go in and out, and this is the only time it's happened.
That you know of.
No, we have it
No,
all,
we
it's all
don't.
under
We watch
video.
every.
No, that's the first time that somebody broke it. You don't know if the first time that somebody got up there and got out of there before it came down and hit their vehicle. You don't know that. And that's why you put them on there.
up if it touches anything.
Yeah,
How hard would it be
again.
to have that set up where if something was under that gate, it wouldn't go down?
So I'm telling everybody, don't respond again. I'm going to submit this to insurance.
That's
There's
where we're
no-
gonna go then. That's what's
Correct,
gonna
because
happen.
the board has
Okay.
no authority by law to do anything. It goes to our insurance. So we'll submit it to ours, they'll talk to yours, and that's how business will be done. And with that, I would ask to close the yard waste discussion.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks for listening to me, I appreciate it.
Takes nothing on our unfinished business, it's gonna take us to new business, Mrs. Campbell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution based upon advice of council and our own research and understanding of the coronavirus relief fund to approve purchase and payment to Katam Restaurant Supply for 3 touchless dispensers in an amount not to exceed $14,261.91 to be taken from our COVID fund.
I so move on new business number 1.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, this is really nice because the way we do the ice now is with the scoop, hands are going in, multiple people. It's something that Joe thought of, and it's really a very good application for
Good job, Joe.
that use, so good job, Joe.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo,
Yes.
Mr. Hawes.
Yes.
And that's the end of new business.
It's gonna take us to the fiscal officer's report. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in an amount of $147,868.44.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless.
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the financial report for October.
If anybody's got questions, feel free to see Tom afterwards.
Fiscal Officer number 5 is a request for resolution to authorize refund as follows for overpayments for EMS as requested by Ohio Bill.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
I will move on fiscal officer number 6.
I'll second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers of expenses to the coronavirus relief fund.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes,
Yes.
Mrs. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Sabo.
Yes. I apologize, I did have a discussion, I did jump in quick enough. You guys have done a ton of work on this stuff, keeping track of all this, and, you know, this has gotten us a lot of equipment and protection and relief from some operations and being able to provide grants. And I just want to thank every one of you who have painfully put this stuff together to keep track of it, because we are going to be audited. It's not a question of if, we are going to be audited. And I think we're going to be okay while we're audited, because I think we've been on top of it before we did anything. So to every department head out there, to Lisa, Tom, everybody else that's done work on this, This has saved our taxpayers a ton of money and has made us a safer place to work and do business out of, and made it a safer place for our citizens. I just can't emphasize that enough. So, thank you.
And I think, I mean, the goodwill, with, especially on the grant side of things, we already know, you know, most folks have said, hey, Plain Township's pretty easy to do business in, but I can tell you there's a handful of businesses recently talked to where I feel like you guys we roll out the red carpet for the businesses, and it's nice to be in the driver's seat on some of this stuff, because some of these folks own multiple businesses across multiple political jurisdictions,
Oh, yeah.
and they're not getting the same attention elsewhere, but we're causing them to ask questions. At the end of the day, I look at it, this, I mean, it's their money, it's tax dollars at the end of the day at the federal level. So making the most of it, again, for the community and our operations as a whole. It's, you know, the work to build off of what John said. I know I've talked with a couple other neighboring townships and a couple that are a little more rural, and you hear some of the, well, if it's gonna create, you know, a lot more work for our staff, that's our responsibility. That's our obligation to the community. And the fact that we don't go, oh, it's gonna be too much paperwork. No, we have rolled with it, and, you know, collectively, ideas have come from everywhere on this. So the fiscal office is gonna bear the brunt end of most of it, just from the tracking and auditing and, you know, payment processing. So I would say echo John's sentiment as well. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Oh, no, we already did.
Or no, you got it.
I know, I did it backwards.
All right, it's gonna take us to administrator, and I'll turn that over to Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution to enter into an agreement with Planet Technologies for a 1-year agreement for our Office 365 and to provide payment not to exceed $6,013.44 from the listed funds.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion. Hey, Eric, just a quick question. Is this who we've historically?
It is, they had a slight pay bump. We had this on the beginning year resolution, but they had a slight increase in their fees, so we had to put it back out.
I just.
Same we've been using since I've been in this spot.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution to approve a blanket purchase order in the amount not to exceed $6,200 to pay Kurtz Brothers for the October 2020 hauling of yard waste from Fund 01A 26Y.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 3 is just a discussion that our team here is watching the leaves week by week, the weather. We've noticed there still are a lot of leaves on the trees. They may fall before yard waste close, but we're open to extending it a week if the weather's decent and there's a big request for that and a need for it. So we'll just, no
Let's keep that
decision,
up.
just taking it week by week. They may fall, this may be meaningless, or we may need to extend a week, so.
Let's just balance that, as always, against what we've got in the
Yeah.
budget without having to supplement.
Yeah, no,
Outside of the-
we should be okay there, so just a discussion. And then item number 4 is a resolution to encumber an authorized payment for the COVID CARES business grants in an amount of $90,000 to be taken from the COVID Fund 14A08B to be used on a reimbursement basis for the township businesses for COVID-related expenses, and to further authorize Administrator Lisa Campbell and Fiscal Officer Tom Wolf to offer grants that exceed $10,000 in special circumstances.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, we did a purchase order last time, we had to split it, but we've spent over $160,000 on the business grants. So you're gonna see this $90,000 resolution, and my next resolution is identical, because by law, we can't open over 100,000. We're doing that because I think this first 90,000 is gonna go quickly. We have a lot of restaurants bars, dental offices have really had to expend a lot of money, which I was surprised just not having that knowledge. So it has been a lot of work, but it's also joyful work because knowing that we're helping, the board has decided, and not every community has done this, to give these grants out. These people are so appreciative. And each one has said to thank the board because, I mean, they're just trying to keep their small businesses afloat, and this is really helping them. So there is just such gratitude with this. So even though Tom and I and Marilyn and Luther and finance, it is a lot of work, but it's work that, you know, I'm just appreciative that the board has given us to do to help these. You guys are, you don't know how you are impacting these people's lives.
And this goes to something I've said since January 1st of 2010, joining the board. We have to do everything we can to preserve, protect, and grow what limited business base we have here. And this is helping to preserve and protect. It may not help them grow, but, you know, we've got to protect that.
Yeah, and these businesses are hopeful now that they can get through Q1, and, you know, that they can catch up their bills and they're still going to be able to stay open. So thank you for that.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Yes. Admin number 5 is the exact same resolution with the same funds, just again, because of the different, of the amount that we're allowed to open is 90,000. So this is an additional 90,000, so we'll have 2 purchase orders for the business grants.
I will so move on administrator number 5.
Second.
Discussion. So
The
essentially,
chief just brought up a good point. He said, look out the back window at Oakwood Square. And a lot of those businesses have applied for the grants. And those, I mean, everybody's been thankful, but if you look at Shell Brewing, they tried to open during this time, and they are opening, and they have faced such hurdles. Royal Docks, they opened during this time, hurdles. That Libby Yoho, hurdles. So that's just an example of, you know, we've got a booming plaza back here, but those people are just so appreciative.
It's an impressive site back there, it is. To look at it now compared to what it was,
Yes,
very impressive.
yeah,
my understanding is from doing some digging around and some old documents as well as just some talking, the occupancy of this plaza now has more tenants than when it was
yes,
originally
that is
built.
true.
From storefronts and so forth. Maybe on paper before it was close, but
Yeah.
it's a testament. And the investments back here aren't done.
No. Greg Giltz and his team has really put together an amazing investment back there that has brought that plaza to life. And I'm telling you what, as a business owner, he is amazing to work with. He's open to ideas, he wants suggestions, he wants to grow. It has been just a wonderful collaborative partnership back there.
Good stuff. Well, for the sake of the public, hopefully they will support all these different businesses
Yes,
back here, even as tight as it may be.
yeah,
I wish this was all here when I lived in when I owned my condo.
right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Any further
You can sell your
discussion?
car then, huh? You wouldn't need it.
That's true.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 6, I was able to add this evening to authorize and approve payment for one 2021 Explorer Interceptor from Wacom Auto Family at a cost of $35,875 plus the 30-day tag, not to exceed $35,895 from Fund 09807.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, this was a very bad accident, not our deputy's fault. And I know when we all saw the pictures, we didn't think the deputy was okay. But it was a blessing he was. I have to give a huge kudos to Lieutenant Carver for working with the insurance. They made a first proposal and he went back and said, we can't reuse this. We're less than $2,000 short of what our reimbursement is gonna be, and that's huge, going from a 2018 to 2021. I mean, it was still a newer vehicle, but man, he worked he'd be tough to negotiate with, do you believe? So he did better than our own insurance company would have done. But you know, it has to be replaced, we need the vehicle, we'll get the funding to replace it, and just a huge thank you.
I'm glad that Deputy Graber's okay.
Oh,
Brian, was that the cruiser I had seen out there Friday?
Yes.
Friday, okay.
If we put it back there by the dumpsters, that's where that thing needs to be.
yeah, yeah,
And, I mean, the pictures don't do it justice, honestly, because I
No.
mean,
it's bad.
the whole front pretty well off, and it looks like the motor's starting to go back into
Oh,
the
yeah.
cab, so it's.
Hey, he wanted to come back to work after he left the hospital. And then he argued with me about going to the hospital.
Yeah. And
You
that's
got
been
dedicated-
each
you got
accident we've
dedicated
had.
little people there.
Yeah. He said, I signed up for overtime in the jail tonight. I said, no, you didn't.
Are we able to use that vehicle, chief, to still do any kind of extractions, or is that helpful to you at all? I mean, if we can use it in any way, I don't know, that's,
Oh, we can still cut off the door.
oh, we can't.
We can't do that.
We
as long
can't
as
because of the insurance, that's right. That's right.
It's only got 33,000 miles on it. So
I
fine
know.
and shape from the rear back.
I
All
know.
right. No further discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that's the end of the administrator report.
It's gonna take us to fire department chief.
Okay, thank you. Item number 1 is our monthly report.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment of tires from Goodyear Commercial Tire not to exceed $15,000 to be taken from Fund 10A09C and 28A06B.
I will move on FD number 2.
Second, discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to purchase and payment for one Moonbeam 3 UVC disinfecting system, including accessories from Daylight Medical, not to exceed $26,000 to be taken from COVID Fund 14A04B.
We'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment to truck sales for labor and repairs to Medic 2's engine coolant leak not to exceed $3,000 to be taken from Fund 2807C.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Chuck, any headway in those conversations? based
Yeah,
on-
actually, I just had a discussion with the mechanic about 4:30. He thinks that we're gonna be able to get that reduced to just labor only, and they're gonna refund the parts.
Cool.
So we're just waiting for that confirmation, but from their higher ups down there,
Okay.
so.
No further discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And for the board's benefit, I've had a conversation with Chuck, we should have added this on the agenda, but Chuck, can you tell him about the COVID runs or chief and the increase that you've been seeing, just to give him an update?
I mean, as well, she sent out a notice today about the increase in Stark County. We've seen a drastic increase in calls for COVID-related calls, repeat transports of residents, and we actually have 5 people under quarantine right now. So it's finally, I guess, hit home here. That's why I was making sure people had facial coverings on this evening, because it is a very, it's become more, in touch now. We've had more people quarantined and et cetera, and we've actually had one
It's
person
personal
test
now,
positive
yeah.
now, so,
That's
internally,
cause and effect.
so,
Yeah,
Hospitals are starting to get packed.
yeah.
yeah. So it's tough to see it affect our fire department who, I mean, they're the first responders. And these guys quarantine, I mean, we have had a positive, they want to be at work, they want to be doing their job, but it's safety and now it's hitting home with our first responders, so.
Okay, so all I can say is, do what they say and try to be safe, that's all you can do, so.
Yeah.
Road department, Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is October's monthly report, if you have any questions.
Good to go.
Item item number 2 is a resolution by the Board of Trustees to hire William Cock in the Road Department, effective November 16th, 2020, at an hourly rate of $19.18 an hour for probationary new hire. After a successful probation period of 1 year, he to be moved up to an operator for labor at the hourly rate of the utility workers in the union's progression schedule. All pending employment, background, drug and alcohol screening, and physical.
I'll move on road 2.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you.
Takes us to zoning. Tom.
Thank you, sir. Item number 1 is the monthly report.
Continues to stay crazy. Okay.
We've been very busy during this COVID time. I guess everybody's working on their own.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. Next.
And item number 2 is a resolution to declare item A as a nuisance abatement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that'll be all for zoning, sir.
Thank you, Tom. It's going to take us to the Parks Department, Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you. Item number 1 is the monthly report.
Okay.
Okay, item number 2 is just a brief announcement. Given our building capacity limitations, I had a chance to speak with Mr. Haynes and Mr. Williams about logistics and legality with the possibility of live streaming. I'm happy to report tonight, as of Saturday, we will be able to live stream some of the youth games so that some of these parents who aren't able to enter the building because of the limitation can log on and view their child. We have protocols in place to send only to our distribution list of registered participants, parents, and guardians, so that they can log on to a Zoom basically and watch the game from home or from their car or from outside the building, because we can only allow so many.
So is that only the youth, or does that get into the adult leagues?
For right now, we're going to start with, in particular, rec and get our feet wet, and then we'll expand as we get comfortable with the medium. I will tell you, most adult leagues don't bring a ton of spectatorship. It's primarily the youth leagues and stuff, so that's where we're going to focus the first efforts and then branch out from there.
I just don't want anybody dialing in when I'm playing Friday night.
Yeah.
Oh, Friday night, what time?
Well, however, we do have surveillance video from the inside of the facility.
Scott, I'm officially your +1 on Friday night.
I look at a horse that should have been led to the glue factory Friday night, not playing 5 years, sucking wind in about 5 minutes.
Listen, the department heads will take turns, so.
I think that's a big step, seriously, doing that. You know, as a grandparent, I can tell you, I don't care whether they're 2 or 22, you want to watch what's going on. And, you know, that's the only way we're going to be able to see our granddaughter do gymnastics this year, because they're going to allow 1 person per family in the gym. So just reaching out like this, I think we're going to see more appreciation than what we're actually going to get back. I mean, so I'm just glad you thought of it.
It's the right thing to do, and we've been trying to find a way. We had a gentleman that's a township resident and plays and coaches in our leagues donate a camera.
Wow.
I've been working with Mr. Haynes to figure out the logistics of it, and I did have a conversation with Mr. Williams about how we planned on distributing it, and all parties were comfortable, which led me to the announcement tonight. So we're excited. It's the right thing to do in this time. And with that, just as a reminder, I know we got our email earlier today, and we kind of know who's where, when, and what tomorrow, but for all veterans out there, come out and see us tomorrow. We have a ribbon cutting at 10:30. We'll be serving meals to you in your vehicles from 11 until either they run out or 1, and then we will do our best to redistribute if there are any leftovers. But please come out and see us. Let us thank you. We are prepared to do this well, to be socially distanced, and to be safe for you and for us. So don't hesitate to come out and grab a meal from us tomorrow. So I just wanted to make a quick announcement.
And a job well done by Rob. He has the event totally sponsored, 100% sponsored, which is a huge accomplishment, especially given this environment. No tax dollars spent, just
Well done, a lot of work.
Well, for passing out kudos, we want to talk about that video,
Oh, yes.
because
That drops tomorrow at
Well-
0700, right?
the people that we had in, I am so glad we invited those people that gave those donations to do that video, because that is a huge impact on that video.
Yes.
It's real people talking, and I just think, first of all, you know, getting all of us to be there, and then putting it together,
And listen, that wasn't easy. Eric had tons and tons of footage, and he did that video, putting it together, and I'm telling you, the first time I saw it, I cried. That is a job well done, Eric, and thank
I
you.
agree.
And I think the veterans who can't, we can't have a program, I think this is just, it's a wonderful, wonderful, and he put it on 150 thumb drives on his own time, and so we can pass it out, and it was a job well done, and it was a team, but he actually had to sit there for hours and hours and hours and cut it, and it is just, I'm so proud of it.
When we share that out via social media, really what we should do is find every one of those companies' pages, like it is a township, and tag it into
Yeah.
the actual post. That way, I mean, it'll draw attention to the township, but it will give the,
Push out.
the entities their fair recognition. I mean, I know when I share stuff, personally, I try to track that stuff.
Eric and Rob, can you work on that
So,
maybe tonight?
I mean, it's a
just
it's a
to
half
get the
dozen.
contact?
We'll take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have that.
But no, that was definitely,
New review.
that was a cool
Yes.
way. I mean, I think
Yes.
it's a repository capture for us. Doing nothing in my book was absolutely not an option, and this was a hell of a way to still fill that gap.
And the way the videos ended, and I don't want to ruin it for any public with fire and their portion, that was just blew me away.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That concludes Parks, thank you.
Takes us to Law Director, Mr. Williams.
Yes, thank you, sir. We have one item on the agenda this evening. It is an application for the DORA at the Oakwood Square Plaza back here that we've been working on. This is technically coming from the fiscal office, so thank you, Tom Wolf. Thanks, Lisa, for your work on this, but special thanks to Tom Ferrara, who really spent a lot of time getting this put together. This is the first portion where we are simply saying that we're going to have a hearing on the 22nd at 6. So we'll open our meeting with it, and we're going to advertise twice before then. So that's all you're doing tonight, is deciding to advertise twice and have a hearing on the 22nd.
And so I'll make a motion on Law Director number 1.
Second.
Discussion from the advertising portion. Everybody understands the first go-round, it's that entire packet that Tom has that has to be
No,
advertised.
it is
No,
not.
it's not.
That's
I
not,
looked at that
okay.
today, and there was a little confusion on that. It is not. It's the actual statute, which is specific to DORA, would trump the statute that is in
Yes.
7. And so because of that, that statute says, it doesn't really have any specific requirements other than that blurb
There's
that
a
we've got covered.
Okay.
So that'll save us some money.
It'll save us
Yeah,
some.
this is the
It'll
law.
save us
We're talking
like
about how much
$4,000
it
on it.
was.
Well, it would have been the whole paper.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, that would have cost.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why they say in the statute also that you're gonna have that on file in your office, right, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah, so anybody who wants to see it, the whole thing, they can go to zoning.
And again, I feel like I'm giving out kudos, but Tom killed it with this. He really put a lot of time, attention to details. We do, and Tom and I need to sit down with Grant Giltz. There's some pieces we just want to make clear to him, and he'll be coming to the hearing on the 22nd, but Tom knocked it out of the ballpark. He really did.
Again, I think we have to look at this as another tool in the tool belt and how we can help work with businesses, enhance areas, and so forth. I mean, I think to give the city of Canton credit where credit's, I think they've done a good job with the downtown
They have.
for the arts district and so forth. And I'm hoping, with some of the additional plans and the works back here, tying that in.
With the
and
720
having
markets.
the right processes and staffing in place, that
Yeah.
it'll equate to folks never even remembering when Oakwood Square was originally built, and be like, oh my God, is this new? And, building off what Chief Oliver said,
just dynamite activity back there, so. Okay, no further discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Okay, nothing in our communications, nobody in the audience or public speaks, wishes to address the board. Concerns of trustees? Concerns of the fiscal officer?
No concerns.
Takes us to the approval of the minutes for October 27th, 2020, and I will so move.
I'll second.
Discussion, roll call,
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
We do have a need for executive session, so I'm going to make a motion, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 7:10 PM from this regular meeting as authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of consideration of 1A, appointment of a public employee or official, 1B, employment of a public employee or official, 1F, compensation of a public employee or official.
Second.
Discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.